Welcome to another episode of Regional Italian Cuisine. My name is Caterina, and on this program we're going to be featuring chestnuts, castagna for all our friends at home. Of course, a big part of my youth and growing up, because in European communities, chestnuts have been always a part of our diet. Basically, I guess chestnuts is one of those, well, we call it a fruit, believe it or not, but it is a fruit that has been around for years. In fact, it's probably one of the oldest and earliest of foods, often thought of as poor man's food because it really was associated with plentiful food that would fill your stomachs, and was never really associated with the upper class in their menus. But of course, over the many years, that has taken a real 360-degree turnaround, and now chestnuts have become very, very fashionable. Of course, they were introduced to Europe via the Greeks, coming from West Asia, and of course into Australia. Some of the earliest plantings of chestnuts was around the 1815s, 1860s, around the gold rush period, where a lot of Europeans, not just Europeans, but also some of the Asians, Japanese, Koreans, Chinese, of course, and the Europeans themselves brought these chestnuts with them. And of course, in some areas of Victoria, we have some fairly old stock. And on that note, of course, I want to introduce you to Peter Guest, who is our special guest tonight. And Peter, of course, he is a grower. He is a supplier, he's a spokesman for Premium Chestnuts Australia, and he's going to give us a little bit of a historical point, I guess, on chestnuts, how they grow, why they don't grow, when you're going to have a good season, and what we can do with them. So let's go meet Peter Guest. A little welcome, Peter. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much, Caterina, for the opportunity to allow us to speak to your viewers about chestnuts.
And yes, you are the expert. Now, let me just ask you, you represent, or you are the spokesperson for Premium Chestnuts Australia.
That's
now, how long has
right.
the group been going for?
We got together, a group of keen growers got together in, I think, 1994.
Right.
And the idea was that we wanted to, this particular group of growers wanted to identify chestnuts who are more user-friendly, because there is an old joke in the chestnut industry that peeling chestnuts is the equivalent of the Chinese water torture, and we need to get past that.
Absolutely. So, well, of course, growing up, I just remember that we never knew whether the chestnut was going to peel easily or not. And my grandmother used to have this trick that after we roasted chestnuts, she'd wrap it in newspaper to help them sweat. I don't know whether that was myth or actually, truth. But anyway, we did it anyway. It was all beautiful stories.
It is truth. It does help. But
Yep.
if you start with a variety that peels well, the job is much easier.
Absolutely. So now, how many growers in your group?
We have 20 farmers. There's 20 individual farms that have got together. So each one is a family-owned farm.
Right. Okay.
There's 20 of us.
And tell me, are you feeling that you're making inroads into the market out there? Because people get scared with chestnuts. I don't. You don't, but people do. Now, why is that?
Absolutely. Since we've identified these new varieties, the reaction we get when our customers see chestnuts that peel easily is fantastic.
Yeah.
They get quite excited about them.
And of course, you know that chefs just adore chestnuts. I mean, they're all over the restaurants. So we just got to get into people's homes, I think. Now, let me ask you, tell me, where are the areas where the chestnuts thrive in? Because I know in Victoria there are a lot of chestnut trees, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely. They thrive in areas where we have deep, well-drained soil.
Yeah.
They need to be close to snow. So if you're in an area that gets occasional snow in the winter, that's the type of climate that chestnuts love. It's part of their genetic cycle that if they don't get cold weather through the winter, they don't fruit very well. So in the temperate areas...
What does that mean? As in the fruit doesn't form?
They just don't produce as many female flowers, and the fruit won't set, so you don't get viable fruit. You get a lot of blank chestnuts where there's no development in the fruit.
There's no sustenance,
yes,
no body.
Yes. So areas that are colder, areas where you get a lot of frosts are very good.
So what areas are we talking about? Like where?
The main chestnut growing areas of Australia are the northeast of Victoria in the Ovens Valley, around Stanley, Beechworth, Mount Beauty, and then moving up through the hills into the areas around southern New South Wales up towards Batlow.
Let me ask you, just talk to me a little bit about the fruit. Now, once it's matured and it's dropped on the ground, where do we go from there with the fruit?
Right. First of all, sturdy gloves.
Yep.
The burrs on the trees are incredibly prickly and incredibly sharp.
Yes.
80% of the crop for the last 20 odd years has all been picked by hand.
Right.
There's been machines that we've been working with to try and mechanise it to get them off the ground as quickly as we can.
So it's really labour intensive.
Labour intensive,
yep.
and the machinery damages the nuts pretty badly.
Okay.
But in recent times, there's a new machine that we're using that's come from Italy, and it's proving to be fairly successful.
Okay.
One of our growers at Stanley, Tony Irea, has bought one, and he seems to be pretty happy with it. You'll see that working shortly.
All right. Now, Peter, because you are the expert, I think I'd like you to tell our viewers exactly what we do with these nuts and how we get them ready for use in the kitchen.
Okay, I guess most of the traditional chestnut users would know that if you don't cut a chestnut and you put it in the oven or put it on your griller or on your barbecue,
doesn't it?
Absolutely, they're fully sealed and they explode. They go off like a firecracker.
Yes.
So it's very important that you cut the chestnut.
Right. So
we've found over many years that by getting the cut in the most appropriate way, it can make the peeling job a lot easier. And
so what does that mean, actually?
Well, we need, if you're preparing a meal and you need to prepare 300 grams of chestnuts, you don't want to spend half an hour doing it. You want to be very slick. And by using the right type of knife, it will speed it up.
So do you have suggestions?
I have. Good idea. I've seen a lot of people attempting to cut chestnuts with paring knives and kitchen knives, and because you've got a long sharp blade, it can be quite dangerous, and to get a good cut to cut through the pellicle you need a very sharp knife, and if you have a longish blade that's very sharp, you have to be super careful. So my preference is to use a Stanley knife or those little snap-off blade knives where you've got a very sharp, small blade and you can cut them very quickly and you get a very clean cut. So you're only using the
tip of the actual Stanley knife actually?
Absolutely, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. But if you get a clean cut, the pellicle comes back away from the kernel much better and it makes the process much quicker.
And do you need to go deep into the nut?
No, just through the pellicle, through the outer husk and into the pellicle, and just cut the pellicle. If you cut too deep, often what will happen that when you go to peel the chestnut, when you go to get the skin off, the nut will break up. So if you cut too deep, that is a problem, and that's what often happens if you use a big knife. So that's my preference, the little sharp Stanley knives.
All right. So is that you haven't mentioned Stanley knife because you want to talk about Stanley, do you?
Well, yeah, we were thinking it might have been a Beechworth knife for a minute. It's actually a Stanley knife.
Very good. Now, Peter, tell our viewers a simple recipe that can really, tantalise our taste buds.
Look, some people like to get complicated with what they do, but just for getting started, we'll just try and keep it very simple.
Yes.
Depending on how many people you're serving, we just take per person maybe 4 or 5 chestnuts.
Yes.
Parboil them.
Yes.
Get the water up to a good rolling boil.
How long do we parboil them for?
Well, first of all, we'll get that cutting right. If we get the cutting right, which makes them easy to peel.
Yes, absolutely.
But put them into the boiling water for 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yes.
Can go to 4 minutes.
Yes.
If you go too long, the chestnuts get soft and they get more difficult to peel.
Yes.
3 to 4 minutes is ideal.
Okay.
Then we quickly whip them out of their skins.
Yes.
Straight into a hot pan of olive oil.
Olive oil.
Sea salt.
Sea salt.
Sea salt, the big flaky pieces.
Yes.
Chili, garlic. Fry them off 5 minutes. Beautiful.
That's like doing the olives that Italians love to do.
Yeah, very simple, very quick.
How simple, how easy. And you would have those as an afternoon snack?
Absolutely, afternoon. If you're so inclined, we can open a bottle of wine if necessary. Yeah. If you're at work, we need to stay away from that. But but
Well, as I was telling you, my grandmother used to always love a glass of beer. I don't know why. I guess that was the marriage between, the sweet, yeasty flavour of beer maybe. But you love to have tea.
Tea, black tea.
Amazing.
That's my favourite. I love the flavour of chestnuts with tea.
Yeah.
White tea or black tea, no problem.
Because it's not competing, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I find that coffee is not a great match with chestnuts, but some people love it. But certainly for me, black tea and chestnuts is magnificent.
More of a subtle flavour.
Yeah. When we're at work and we can't open a bottle of wine, this is what we do.
Yeah, because that's what I do for a living. I open wine all day.
Absolutely, it's a good idea.
And what else? So that's one great recipe. Now, what else can we do with chestnuts?
Well, we eat chestnuts for lunch at work most days, and obviously while you're working, you don't want to be opening bottles of wine, and you want to keep it quick. So we actually have an old vertical griller. They were sold in their millions during the 70s. I remember when my wife and I got married, we got six of them as wedding presents, and we still have one, and it's a very quick and simple way of cooking chestnuts, and they cook both sides at once.
So are they electrified?
Electric, just plug them straight into the socket. You can use them anywhere, and they're a very quick and effective way of roasting a chestnut, and simple. And
how long, once again, does it take?
Oh, very quick. You can roast a chestnut in a vertical griller in about 6 or 7 minutes. Maybe a large chestnut if you get a very big one.
Yes.
Typically, little chestnuts, 5 minutes, but a good sized chestnut, 7 or 8 minutes. Both sides are cooked, and because of the high heat in them, once again, it helps with the peeling and makes the job easy.
It's all about the scoring.
Kat, the reason I use the vertical griller at work is we've got limited time at lunch times. It's a very quick way of preparing the chestnuts. I have 3 or 4 or 5 chestnuts, cup of tea, beautiful.
Amazing.
Yes.
And on that note, where can our viewers at home buy these amazing chestnuts? How do they get their hands on all these varieties you've been telling me about?
They just go to our website, www.premiumchestnuts.com, and there'll be a list of retailers for Melbourne viewers, and there'll be a list of retailers for the Sydney viewers.
Yeah. So but the products will be signposted as to the varieties, won't they?
Oh, absolutely. And just remember to look for the pink packaging.
There you go. We are here in Stanley tonight, and Stanley is, 300 kilometres from Melbourne, roughly?
Yes, it's about that, yep.
And for our viewers at home, of course, Beechworth is just down the road, about 10 kilometres down the road, and we're, of course, 50 kilometres from Wangaratta, just to get your bearings. But we are in the most amazing space here. It's beautiful and very, very cold. I guess we are in the middle of winter, yes?
Yes, it's a type of country that chestnuts thrive in.
Absolutely. Now tell me about this region, because it's very big in tourism, Peter. So what do they have out here?
Look, in the northeast of Victoria, between Beechworth, Stanley, Bright, Mount Beauty, the main income for the area is tourism and farming. Farming plays a big part in the area. We've got a lot of, it was dominated by tobacco growing many years, tobacco and apples, but in recent times farmers have needed to find other products that they can produce that are in demand these days, and they're moving into things like grapes, cherries, apples, and chestnuts, and that's where we come into it.
And is that a leftover from all the Italian or European communities that were here? Because a lot of them were European, were they not, the tobacco growers?
That's correct, yes.
So are they now the people that have come in as second or third generation and jumped onto this market of chestnuts?
That's right, because the tobacco industry slowed up many years ago when the tariff restrictions were removed.
Yes.
And we're looking for other things to do, and chestnuts started to grow from about 1980. It started to become a commercial enterprise. Prior to that, it was just a small cottage industry, and very strong presence in the Italian community these days, linked into the chestnut community.
Yes. A lot of viewers, of course, through the Premium Chestnut Association here in Australia, I've been able to meet with some of the growers, and of course one of the more charismatic growers that I got to meet was the beautiful Tony, who of course is Italian, Calabrese in fact, is that right?
That's so true.
And is also the proud owner of High Groves here in the middle of Stanley, and you are very, very well known for your, not just chestnuts, but also berries and other things that you do.
That's right. Yeah, we grow berries and cherries,
yes,
but mainly chestnuts.
Chestnuts as well. Now, tell me a little bit about your history, Tony, because I know that in order for you to get here, there was a story behind you before, right? Because you come from Mount Beauty.
That's correct.
All right,
yeah.
and you were one of the, well, not original, but part of the tobacco growing community.
That is true. We were in Mount Beauty for 35 years.
Yes.
And when they finalised tobacco,
yes,
there was no more grown in Australia.
Yes, yes.
And I had sons that wanted to continue in the agriculture business,
yes.
And Highgrove came up, and I thought it was an opportunity to continue in agriculture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
But of course, aside from chestnuts, I know you've also had hotels. The beautiful Caterina has been also doing some cooking at La Luna restaurant. So you've had a really beautiful story, I think, around raising 7 children.
Yeah.
It's kept you very busy.
Well, Carolina takes most of that credit.
Yes.
She always loved having a big family, and she loves cooking.
Yes, oh yes.
Yes.
That goes hand in hand with
Yeah.
the Italians, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it
And the
does,
Italian men
yeah.
like drinking. Yes.
The odd glass of wine, yes.
A lot of viewers, of course, behind every man stands a great woman. And of course, I'd like to welcome Caterina to the show, who is Tony's wife. Now, I know you've had 7 children, and of course, that's a lot of the hungry mouths to feed, no doubt. And I guess over the years, you've just developed and mastered your own recipes, correct?
Yes, I love cooking.
Yes, I know. And now you hail from the region of Calabria, which of course is in the southern part of Italy. Now, the recipe you're going to be showcasing tonight, aside that you grow chestnuts, but this is something that you would have grown up with in your youth?
Yes.
And something nice and simple to do, doesn't cost a lot of money, and of course the big thing we want to showcase is the fact that now there is a new variety of chestnuts that are easy to peel, so we don't have to fight the skin, and we can do this very simply. Allora Caterina, what's the first step in making this raviolo farcito, which is basically a stuffed raviolo, correct?
Well, we've got some boiling water on, and
We need to boil
we put the chestnuts in.
Yes.
You don't split them, you leave them whole.
Okay.
20 minutes, take them out and cool them down a little bit, but they need
Yes.
to be peeled while they're still hot.
Yes, otherwise the pellicle won't come off.
Yes, right.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Is that it?
And,
What's in terms of how much we need? So half a kilo?
Okay, to make this ravioli that we're cooking today
Yes.
is 500 grams of chestnut,
Yes.
250 of mascarpone
Mascarpone.
cheese, pinch of salt, pinch of cinnamon, all into the blender. And
Yes. Away you go.
That's it.
That's easy. Too simple. Too easy.
Easy,
But too
right?
yummy.
Not
And then we
too
just whack it in the blender and
Blender.
blitz it for how long?
20-30 seconds or 40 of them maximum.
Yeah. So obviously, Caterina likes to attain a fairly rustic sort of filling. But if you choose, you want it a bit smoother, just blend it a little bit more. That's all right. Beautiful. Now I know you were saying to me you normally always make your own pasta, but for our viewers at home, if you don't have time to make it and you feel that you want to buy the pre-made product, you can, because it works equally as well, doesn't it?
That's right.
Fantastic.
It's quick and easy.
Quick and easy. That's the point of all these cooking shows. We want to
exactly right.
be able to do it at home. All right, now let's start the first process in the recipe.
So we do put a little bit of egg wash.
And what's that? Just fresh egg with what?
Just egg.
Egg, and you've
a
just
little bit
beaten
of
it?
water in it. Yeah.
A bit of water to thin it out a bit.
Put this on the side so it doesn't it sticks when you put
Okay.
the ingredients in.
Okay. So the egg wash around the edges.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm making 3 out of this lot.
So
Mixture.
nice full heaped teaspoons. Beautiful. Lovely. Here we go.
See? We sort of fold.
Oh, is that it? Beautiful. So now you've used a little cutter to get the lovely crinkly edges. Perfect.
Right.
All right. And then,
We use a fork just to seal it.
all right. So she's pressing onto the 2
Sides.
layers of pasta so that you get a really nice firm casing, because we don't want any of the filling to come out during the cooking process. Beautiful. Perfetto. Here we go. Beautiful. Look at that. Now we need a pot of boiling water.
That's right.
Do we need to salt the water?
Yes, you can add some salt if you like.
All right, all Italian cooks know that you must salt the water. And then you put them in the water. How long do we need to cook them for?
A couple of minutes because they do come to float pretty
Alright.
much straight away.
So it's like, I remember my mother used to throw in the gnocchi, wait till they come up to the top.
and dish them out.
Yeah, and dish them out. So that's how quick it is.
Yep.
And let me ask you, what will be the sauce that you're going to be pouring over these gnocchi?
The sauce is
Ravioli.
ravioli. The sauce is some burnt butter.
Yes.
A little bit of sage.
Yes.
You just slightly cook it until it's nice and golden brown and just
Nearly
toss
nutty.
it in.
You get nearly a nutty
Don't-
flavour.
Yeah, don't burn your butter.
Don't burn the butter, because
That's
then it
right.
starts to split and it
Good.
changes the colour too, doesn't it?
So you just toss them in the pan and
Yeah.
dish them out straight away. And
Of course,
There we go.
burnt butter is one of the sauces that is famous all over Italy. They do them with the ravioli, with the amaretti, as you know, and the zucca in Mantova. So really classical dish. But if we didn't want to do it with sage, what else could we use, Carmelina?
Well, we used a little bit of pancetta today.
As well?
So you can add that if you like, or you can have it as a sweet. You can deep fry them and add a little bit of icing sugar.
So put them in the
Deep fry
in the oil,
deep
fry, and then some icing sugar.
Yeah, till they're cool.
That's it. Look, three suggestions just with this humble raviolo filled with castagne. All right, beautiful, yum. I'm dying to taste it. How many calories is that going to put on me?
Not many. 'Cause chestnuts they're not fattening. Did you know that? They're not.
They're beautiful. They are. Do you know what? What's great about that? You're getting sweetness from the chestnut and the nuttiness of the butter, and it works so well.
Beautiful.
Are you sure they're not fattening?
They're not fattening.
All right, now let's go and meet another member of the family, the beautiful Amanda, who's going to give us a beautiful sweet treat. Amanda, thank you and welcome to our show.
It's okay, thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Now, tell me about this beautiful little sweet treat you're planning to do for us today.
Yes, well, my dad's out the front. He's roasting some chestnuts for us, and I grabbed a handful, and I thought, why not dip them in chocolate? So I've grabbed, all you need is some grease-free paper, a fork, and whatever chocolate you choose.
What do you like to use?
My favourite's white chocolate, but you can use dark chocolate, milk chocolate, or... whatever
Dark
you
would be
like.
good because you get a lot of sweetness from the nuts, so that's a good foil as well.
And it's healthier too, so dark
Beautiful.
chocolate. So you just melt your chocolate in the microwave or on the stove.
And if it's on the stove top, you need a double boiler so we
That's
don't
right.
burn the chocolate, very important.
I use it in the microwave because I find it's a little bit quicker.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
once you've melted your chocolate, give it a stir and you dip your roasted chestnuts into the chocolate. Pull it out with a fork. The fork helps.
Drains it,
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
it,
right.
literally?
Yeah, and put it on some grease-proof paper so it doesn't
stick.
as
And then do we have to put this in the refrigerator?
Well, you don't. It doesn't take very long to set it all. So just a couple of minutes and it's
And
all
on
done.
that note, am I allowed to taste one?
Absolutely.
Oh, que bueno. Look at that. Eat your heart out. Even the Swiss chocolatiers can't do it this good. Oh, it's beautiful. Fantastic.
Caterina, now we'll go and meet some of the other members, the growers
Of the
of
association.
the association, which has been going on for about 15 years.
Oh, amazing. You have enjoyed this episode of Regional Italian Cuisine. As you can probably see, my hands are turning blue. We're so cold. I'd like to thank you, especially Peter and all the wonderful growers behind us. I hope you have a fantastic season. Ciao, alla prossima. We'll see you again soon. Ciao.